Who does that? Who does that? What doctor, what person does that? Comes in, touches your property, and throws it across the room. Like, no. He's an asshole. That's why he always has openings. No one likes him. For real. Do what you can to keep you safe. I hope this works. Hey guys, Aishah here. And I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to do a get ready with me and then tell you of a little cautionary tale. Anyway, I'm also using my mic today. It's a Blue Yeti mic. I've had this for a while. And I never really thought to use it with my camera just because the whole setup is kind of a lot. Like, I got to have my computer and the mic plugged into the computer and then the mic plugged into the camera for it to work. I don't know. I'm going to try it today, see how it works. If it works, hopefully it works and it records all the audio and there's nothing weird. But yeah, I just feel like it could give a better sound quality. So let's try it. Actually, I'm going to test it out before I even do the whole video. So this is the test. Alright, so I tested it. I honestly can't tell if it's better or worse, but I'll give it a try for this video. I don't know. We'll see. Today I want to talk about healthcare and minority communities. I don't know what you want to call it. I'm going to tell you about some of my experiences, specifically with this one doctor. I've had experiences with multiple doctors, but I'm going to talk about this one doctor in particular, which was my most recent doctor who I no longer go to, and why. And I bring this up because I've been looking for a new doctor recently. Because, you know, new job, new health insurance. Well, not a new job. I've been here for like 2 years, but new insurance. I've been looking for a new doctor since my last doctor. And I ended up going to my last doctor because my previous doctor was crap. And I talked about that in one of my videos a while ago, maybe a year or two ago, about, I forget the title of the video, but I was talking about black women and racism in the healthcare, in healthcare in America. I'll link the video or put it in the card on the screen, but yeah, that's what I talked about. But I didn't mention this other doctor I went to after that doctor. I told my story about the doctor I went to when I was pregnant at the end of that video, after I told about the history of black women in healthcare and whatnot. But I'm gonna do another video with just that story in it, because that video is kind of long, and the story about my experience is like at the end. Anyway, let's talk about the guy I went to after the lady who was crap. I can't believe these people are doctors. Anywho, and it's funny because I talked about the lady I went to before I went to this guy. I wrote a review on her, and my review is still up on that lady. But I didn't write a review on this guy just because he didn't almost kill me. She did. So yeah, I wrote a review on her. She almost killed me and my baby, but yeah. But I didn't write a review on him because I stopped going to him long before he, you know, could do any harm, I guess. He was just awful in another way. But I do actually need to get ready because I do have somewhere I need to go. So let's multitask if we shall. Okay. I'm not going to use any primer today just because I haven't been using primer for a while. And I haven't noticed a difference in staying power or anything, so let's just not use primer. And it's like midday, so I really don't need my makeup to last any longer than the rest of the day. So I'm going to be using L'Oreal True Match, these two, mixing them together. One's a little too yellow, one's a little too red. We're going to mix them to make orange. So let's start. So this guy I used to go to, first of all, it was my first time going to a guy. He is an OBGYN. And I ended up going to him, not because I wanted to. I ended up going to him because, I don't know if it's the same everywhere else, but in America, you have to go to doctors in your specific network, meaning somebody that takes your insurance. So you can't go to whoever you want unless you want to pay out of pocket or pay extra fees or whatever. So yeah. So there's only certain doctors you can go to unless you want to pay. Because your insurance only pays for certain doctors, which is BS. So anyway, I ended up going to this guy, and this happened some years ago. I haven't been to him in at least 2 years. Yeah, because I've been at this job for 2 years, so I haven't been to this guy in like 2 years at least. But I have been going to like my general care doctor just to like make sure everything is good, Gucci, whatnot. Which is like a whole separate doctor. I don't know if other places they have this many damn doctors you have to go to, but we have to go to like a different doctor for everything. It's ridiculous. So anyway, after going to the doctor who delivered my baby, who was my OBGYN for, during that time period, she was my OBGYN for maybe 2-3 years. Because after I delivered my baby, I only had to go to her a couple more times after that. So I went to her for maybe 2 years. Because that was a whole shit show, and I decided she was trash. I decided she was trash during my pregnancy, and I didn't want to see her anymore, but I let certain members of my family talk me out of switching doctors, which I shouldn't have done. But I should have trusted my instincts and fired her as my doctor and gone to somebody else, because she was trash and almost died as a result of listening to other people. So anyway, after leaving her, I went to this guy. And we're going to call him Dr. Mullet. And we're going to call him Dr. Mullet because it looked like he had a mullet. And I don't think it was on purpose. I think he just missed some haircuts. And the hair in the back of his head started just growing longer than the hair on the front of his head. And it was all gray. But he didn't look very old. He was maybe in his early 50s. I want to say late 40s, early 50s. Somewhere around there. Because he had all his hair is gray, but he didn't look like super wrinkly or anything. I don't know. Anyway, I say I didn't go to him by choice because he was not the doctor I wanted to go to. The doctor I wanted to go to was a lady who I guess his partner, I don't know what you would call it, but they share a business, they share a building together. And I really wanted her. And this lady is a brown woman. I'm not going to pretend to know, you know, what race she is or anything, because I really can't tell. If I had to guess, I would say maybe she was of Latin descent, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know she is not white. This guy is white. But I really wanted the lady, his partner, because she had amazing reviews. And that was another thing. After going to my previous doctor, I learned to always read reviews, like do your due diligence as much as you can. Obviously, that doesn't always work, but still it helps. Read reviews. You know, do what you can to find out everything you can about these people, because they literally have your life in their hands. And if something happens to you, 9 times out of 10, nothing is going to happen to them. Like, you may be able to sue for malpractice, but what's that going to do? You're going to be dead, and they're still going to be there. Most likely, they're still going to be practicing, because most of these doctors that get sued and stuff, or, you know, who are just terrible doctors and nothing happens to them, they still are practicing. Like that lady I went to, she's still practicing. She's still here. So, anywho, I ended up going to him because his partner was not accepting new patients at the time. And that was a bummer. So, I called up there. This was years ago I'm talking about. I called up there. It's like, called the receptionist, like, hey, I was hoping to talk to, I was like, this is what I said. I was like, hey, I was wondering if Dr. Pretty, let's call her that, because she is really pretty. Dr. Pretty, seeing if she's accepting new patients right now. Receptionist was like, no, not right now. She's not accepting new patients, but Dr. Mullet he has openings. And I just went with it because I figured this was my mistake. I figured she had glowing reviews because I read up on her before calling, but I didn't read up on him. because I don't know, I just figured she might have openings, and I hope she did. I don't know. Little did I know, especially if they're good, they're most likely not going to have openings. But so yeah, she didn't have any openings, and she wasn't accepting any new patients. But they were like, oh, Dr. Mullet does have openings, you know, he's accepting new patients. So I was like, okay, sure, just because I figured she's good, she has glowing reviews, I'm sure he's just as good, they're partners, so why wouldn't he be? Big mistake. Big mistake. Big mistake. So I ended up going to him, but before I went, after I got off the phone with the receptionist, I finally read up on him. And he did not have as great of reviews as she did. He did not. And the number one thing I read about him was that his bedside manner was trash. And I was like, okay, so maybe that's not such a huge deal. I was like, maybe, because that was the number one thing I read about him. I was like, maybe that's not such a huge deal. Like, I could probably work with that. And I was like, yeah, it's not that big a deal. I would only have to see him once a year. Not that huge of a deal, right? Wrong. So I looked past that. And also something else I read that a lot of women said, and these weren't just all these women were white women, by the way, because you know they had pictures of themselves in their profiles when they left comments or reviews. Most of them did. Some of them didn't have pictures, but most of them had pictures of themselves. I guess I forget the name of the review. I think it's like webreview.com, something like that, or like Google reviews. I don't know. There's reviews all over. If you just Google their name, reviews will pop up. And I think let me just do it real quick. Yeah, there's a few. Okay, focus. What the hell is going on now? Focus. Don't. Okay, the bear needs to not be in the shot. Like, do I need to move the bear? Don't focus on the bear. I think I need to move the bear. Okay, there we go. There we go. So anyway, there's a few. I just Googled his name. So I don't remember which one I read, if I read through all of them. Of course, he has a lot more now. He has like over 300. And before, when I read, they were like maybe 100 and so, something like that. He's not a new doctor by any means. He's been in the field for a while, I think like 30 plus years or something, and I'm pretty sure his dad was a doctor, and I think his grandfather as well. I don't know. Pretty sure, because I asked around afterwards, because my mother-in-law is a nurse practitioner, so yeah. So I usually ask her, but unfortunately I asked her afterwards. But she said she didn't give a terrible review of the guy. I asked her afterwards. I'll get to that. But anyway, right now, reviews. So a lot of the women who left reviews on this guy were white women, or, you know, I couldn't tell because of the pictures, but a lot of the ones I remember were from white women, just saying, like, it wasn't like, oh, he discriminates against brown people or people of color or whatever. I don't know. He just seemed like an asshole to everybody, unless you were pregnant. That's something I saw in multiple reviews. They said that he seemed to be more attentive to the pregnant women than to any other patients, which I'm like, okay, I get that, but you should be attentive to all your patients, not just people who are pregnant. Hey, so I'm reading through reviews on this guy again, and there are a lot of new ones, of course, but yeah, he was an a-hole to pregnant women as well. And I'm going to include some of these reviews as the video is going on, because they are scary, similar to what I went through, and this is just ridiculous. Like, these people really need to be stopped. So I'm going to include some of these reviews because this is just crazy. And even some of the good ones with like 4 stars are still bad reviews. So I don't understand the star ratings. I don't know. but I'm gonna include them. Seriously. And if that's the case, I don't know if they can do that. Like, if you can just specifically work with pregnant women. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I'm like, if that's what you want to do, why not just work with pregnant women and leave all the rest out? But I don't know. Let me do my eyebrows first, because this is going to take a little minute. I don't feel like doing the gel, so I'm just going to fill in my eyebrows. Because I don't feel like doing the gel today. Let me pause it. What was I saying? Reviews. So yeah, he just seemed to be kind of dismissive of anybody if you weren't pregnant. That's what I read in the reviews anyway before I went. So anyway, let's cut to when I went to my appointment. So I went to my appointment. I actually went during my lunch breaks, and at the time I worked in the city, and the doctor's office was maybe like a 5-minute drive from my job. So I was like, okay, I'll go during my lunch. My lunch break was 30 minutes to an hour. I was like, cool, that should be enough time, right? That should be enough time. So I drive over there during my lunch break, get there. First time, you know, I had to fill out the paperwork, whatnot. Waited in the waiting room. Waited some more. It got to the point where it was like more than halfway through my lunch break that I was waiting. So over 30 minutes I was waiting in the waiting room. To the point where I got up and I went to the receptionist and I said, hey, we're gonna have to reschedule or something because I have to get back to work. And she was like, oh, but your turn's almost coming up. You're the next person. If you just want to wait a few more minutes. And I was like, no, I don't think I can, because I felt like that was some BS. So anyway, at that point, coincidentally, somebody came out. Another nurse came out of the door. It was a nice office, by the way. It was pretty big, very spacious. They had like, was it separated into two? I don't remember. Am I thinking of another doctor's office? I know it was very nice and spacious, but I don't remember if it was separated into one waiting room for, one waiting room for Dr. Pretty and one waiting room for Dr. Mullet. I don't remember, or if they were just mixed together. I think they were just mixed together. So anyway, coincidentally, another nurse came out and called my name to go to the back. So I was like, and then the nurse at the front was like, see, it's your turn. I was like, okay. By the way, all the nurses and the receptionists were very, very nice. Yeah, they made me feel very welcomed. Even one nurse at the front, I remember I told her my birthday and she was like, oh, you share a birthday with Alfred Hitchcock. And I was like, yeah, that's true. I was like, but he was born on Friday, I was born on Sunday. But yeah, really cool. It was cool that she knew that, because I knew that too. It's like, that's really cool that you know that too. But anyway, so I finally get called to the back and I was like, cool, this is gonna be pretty quick. Like, the doctor's gonna come, you know, because usually when they call you to the back, that means it's your turn to be seen by the doctor, right? You would think. But no. So after waiting for over 30 minutes, I want to say 40 minutes in the outside waiting room, I was then waiting in the back in the actual exam room for another 30 plus minutes. And baby, I was getting mad. I was so mad. I was so mad. Ooh, I was mad. I was not happy. But I didn't like let it show, and I'm very good at like hiding my feelings, sadly. So I just sucked it up and I waited, even though I should have left. I was a lot younger then, and I took a lot of shit that I should not have. But yeah. So when the doctor finally came in after 30 plus minutes, I was actually sitting on the exam table, bed, whatever you want to call it, what is it, a gurney or something? I don't know. I was sitting up there and I was scrolling through my phone because I've been waiting there for like 40 minutes. And then he came in, I put my phone down next to me on the exam table, whatever, He came in, introduced himself. I said hi, whatever. He's like looking over my chart, like not really making eye contact or anything. And then he comes in, gets closer to me, and then he like takes my phone off of the exam table sitting next to me. I'm like wearing the gown and everything, my socks and all that shit. He takes my phone off the exam table and chucks it into the chair where my clothes are, which is like, let's say the exam table is right here. I'm sitting here and dangling my legs. That's where I was, right there. The chair is not even in frame. It's like over here somewhere in the corner, the back corner. He chucks my phone. And I was like, what the fuck? First of all, why are you touching my property? Secondly, who does that? Who does that? What doctor, what person does that? Comes in, touches your property, and throws it across the room. I have to say, I never wanted to beat an old man's ass more than in that very moment. And he's lucky it didn't bounce off the chair and fall on the floor, because that is something that very well could have happened. Lucky it didn't, because I was already mad as fuck. I'm trying not to curse. I was already very mad. And I was like, are you serious? And then he like continued to go through my chart and all this other crap. He was asking me about my pregnancy and stuff, and like if he said something along the lines, I don't want to tell my medical business, because that's nobody's business. But he was like, I'm trying to find a way to word this without telling my business. I have to, I guess. So anyway, he asked me about a certain part with my previous doctor. He's like, okay, so I saw you gave birth, blah, blah, blah. He was like, did they repair you? And I was like, no, I don't know. And he was like, did they sew you up? And I was like, yeah. He was like, then they repaired you. It was shit like, I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? The first time I'm ever meeting you and this is how you are? Like, what is your problem? And that right there told me like he wasn't, like, I already had to set my mind, like, if I do have any more kids, he was absolutely not the person to deliver them or that I wanted to go through that with. Because just like I had the feeling about my previous doctor, I had a feeling about him. And I like kind of started to tell him a little bit of my experience with my previous doctor, and he just did not seem to give a shit. He really didn't. Also, I mentioned this in the video initially, but then I cut it out during editing. But another time when I went to see him during one of my other visits, I don't know, a year or two later, we were talking about birth control, and I was explaining to him why I no longer take birth control and why I don't want to take it anymore, and he completely disregarded that. Like, in the middle of me telling him that, he got on his cell phone, called one of his doctor buddies, that's what he called him, and talked to him about a certain type of birth control, and then prescribed me that birth control, even after me telling him I didn't want to take birth control. And I did not like the side effects from it, and I didn't want to take it at all. And during that interaction, he gave me the 1 minute finger while he was on his cell phone with his buddy. I should have bit that shit off, I swear. And I remember reading a few comments from people, because I saw, is what made me think of this story too, was me looking for new doctors, of course, but also the fact that I saw that a YouTuber unfortunately passed away. Another YouTuber unfortunately passed away. This is like the second one I've seen in the last few years that passed away while giving birth or while pregnant. And some people like commented like, yeah, these doctors all look out for each other. These doctors and nurses all look out for each other, and they don't really care about the patients or what they say or what, you know, they've been through and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, it might seem like a conspiracy or whatever, but they do truly look out for each other and not really care, or the ones I've experienced so far, unfortunately. Also, I want to point out that there are some very good doctors and nurses. I'm just talking about my experience, but also you should check out The Good Nurse on Netflix, because you get a better look at what I'm kind of talking about, where this is based on a true story. Or actual events, I should say, where this nurse was going around for years killing patients, and doctors just kept firing him, and he just kept going to different hospitals, and they were doing this to protect the hospitals, not the doctors or nurses. This is very true. Like, They truly seem to, because he just seemed to like get mad when I told him what I went through, which was very valid and very real and very true, and very scary and very dangerous. But he seemed to not care. So I already had set my mind after that one appointment. I was like, he's not who I want to deliver my kid if I ever have any more kids. And it's not haha funny, but funny annoying, because I know how a lot of people, especially during the holidays, are like, oh, my family keeps asking when I'm gonna have kids or when I'm gonna have more kids and blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, my family too. And they think it's funny, like they keep laughing like, oh, haha, when are you gonna give us more kids, haha. And I'm like, I don't owe you anything. And then after knowing everything I went through, why would I be so eager? And then struggling to find a halfway decent doctor here, and you think I'll be like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and risk my life again. Even though I really do want more kids, it's like there's so many other factors besides, oh, let me go ahead and get pregnant. For me anyway, for me. I know a lot of other people just like, but for me it's like, no, I have to think about everything. I have to. I don't have the luxury of just being like, do it on a whim. I don't have it in me. Especially after feeling like I got lucky the first time. It's like, why would I risk both of our lives again? Knowing these doctors around here ain't shit. But anyway, let me continue. So after my first meeting with him, I continued to go to him for a few more years, just because, like I said, certain insurance, and I think my copay was like little to nothing with him. But with other doctors in my network and stuff, it was different for some reason. And also there weren't a lot of doctors in my network with that insurance I had. My insurance was crap, to be honest. It was awful. It was expensive for me to pay for it, but it was awful. Like the copay, the deductible and all that, very high. It was in the thousands. I think the deductible was somewhere around like $5,000 or something. So yeah, it was very bad. So I think the only reason I kept going to him was I did look for other doctors, but there didn't seem to be any others that were A, any better, or B, any cheaper. Like, and I wasn't making a whole lot of money at the time either. Which is sad because like I said before, all these factors come into play. It's not like, so, and it sucks too, because as a woman you have to keep going to all these different doctors because there's so many issues that as women we could have, and we have to go a lot more often than men, and it's a lot. Hey, so I want to add that I had no idea that he had this reputation as the cutting doctor or performing a lot of C-sections and hysterectomies. I am glad that I didn't have to go through that firsthand, but I had no idea he had that reputation. If I did, I would not have gone to him. But yeah, I didn't have to, go through a pregnancy or anything with him, so I'm glad I didn't have to experience that firsthand. I do want to say though too, I did witness like ageism with him, because he thought I was a lot younger than what I am. And he did treat me, believe it or not, a lot worse than he was treating me before. He found out my actual age by looking at my chart. But yeah, it was just a lot, this guy. He just, I don't know, it really seemed like he did not like young women specifically. A lot of the good reviews he had were from older patients. Like I said, they've been with him for like 25, 15, 10 plus years. It's a lot to be a woman. It really is. I got new insurance, so I need a new OB. And I'm saying this because I was looking for a new OB because I recently got, in the card, oh, it's time for your checkup, blah, blah. And there was no way I was going back to this guy. So while I was looking for a new doctor, so first of all, with my new insurance, it's a lot better than my previous insurance. However, there aren't many doctors I can choose from. with my new insurance. Altogether, there were 33. 3 areas. That's all the doctors in 3 different areas. South Carolina, Georgia, and another area nearby. Not nearby. It's kind of far. It's like an hour away. But you get what I'm saying. Now I'm going to use this Peanuts Wet n Wild. And last time I forgot to show like all the little characters on the Wet n Wild. But let me show you. You'd see the matte ones have little characters on them. There are only 33 doctors in my network. And like I said before, previously, I had no desire to go to a man before. And that guy proved all my, I don't know what you want to call it, paranoia, suspicions. He proved them all right. I just felt like a male doctor wouldn't care that much. I couldn't relate to them. I don't get male OBGYNs. I don't. I mean, and this guy, he unfortunately was my first. He wasn't my first, because I've been to male specialists, but not like a doctor that was my doctor. So yeah, of the 33 doctors in my network, guess how many were women? Just take a wild guess. So of the 33 doctors in my network, only 9 of them were women. 9. Were they 9? Actually, I can check right now. I can double check right now, honestly, because I have my computer right here. I'm sorry. Of the 32 doctors in my network for OBGYNs, only 12 of them are women. So yeah. So the other day, I think over the course of 2 days, I took time to filter through, and I actually ended up calling a couple that were men too, and because I was desperate at one point. I was just desperate. So first, I started off with only trying to find the doctors that were of color. There were only a few. As you can imagine, only 12 of them are women, so how many do you think are of color? Not a lot. Silly goose. So, and it's not like all of them have pictures or anything, or like, hey, this is a black doctor, this is a Latina doctor, this is an Indian doctor. No, I had to like filter through on my insurance page, cut it down to women doctor only, and then I had to Google each and every one of their names to possibly get a look at who they were in reviews. Some of them didn't have many reviews. Like some of them only had like 1 or 2 reviews, and I'm like, I didn't trust that. I remember this one in particular who did have a picture. This got down to the point where I was kind of desperate. It was like a younger Caucasian woman doctor. She had like 1 or 2 reviews, and they were not good. And they were the only reviews she had thus far. So that was concerning. So automatically she was cut out. But that got down to the point where I was just desperate, because I ended up calling 9 of the 12. I read reviews on all of them, first of all. And the ones I felt had the best reviews I called first, of course. Starting with the women of color. And most of them were not accepting new patients at the time. Or, yeah, right now, because I called them like 3 days ago. So they're not accepting new patients right now. So then I had to go to the white doctors. The women doctors, of course, still. All these are women. I call like... I didn't even call any male doctors. I think I just looked at their reviews, like thinking about it, because I started to get desperate, but I did not call any male doctors. I only called the women doctors. I I did call Dr. Pretty again because she is actually in my network again, and she was one of the ones that popped up. At first I recognized the name, but I didn't know where I knew it from. But after doing a quick Google search, I was like, oh, that's the doctor I wanted before. And she still has amazing reviews. And it's funny because somebody that left the only negative review on her reviews was actually for Dr. Mullet. They put it under the wrong doctor because they are partners and they're in the same building, but they put the negative review under Dr. Pretty's review, but specifically named Dr. Mullet. And the person managing the reviews or whatever was like, hey, thanks for your input, but this is for Dr. Pretty, not Dr. Mullet. Can you please delete this? Because, you know, they can't delete comments. But anywho, yeah, she's still a great doctor, of course. So I called her, and she's still not accepting new patients. Surprise, surprise. She's that good of a doctor that people don't want to leave. However, the receptionist told me, oh, Dr. Mullet has openings. Would you like to schedule an appointment with him? He's accepting new patients. I immediately said no. Immediately no. Absolutely not. And I actually laughed to myself while she was like in the middle of talking, because it was funny. I was like, that's how I got stuck with this asshole last time. Like, no. But I just told her, I was like, no, thank you. And that was that. And we hung up. She's like, oh, okay. It's like, no. He's an asshole. That's why he always has openings. No one likes him. And the women that seem to like him seem to find him attractive or some crap. And I don't get that either. But whatever. Or he delivered their kids and he was super nice to them because they were pregnant and he delivered their kids. So I don't know. I wouldn't even feel comfortable with him delivering my kids as a black woman. I'm like, if you treat me like that when I wasn't pregnant, why would I think you would treat me any better when I am pregnant? So I'm calling around. Unfortunately, Dr. Pretty, she was like the #1 person I wanted again once I saw her name on the list, and she was not accepting new patients. So I called around some more. I looked up reviews on everyone, and especially the people of color. There was this one doctor who is Indian. She said her receptionist told me that she was accepting new patients. I read reviews on her. She had very good reviews, except her staff did not. You know, got comments about unprofessional staff. And at this point, I'm traumatized. So I'm like taking everything into consideration, not just the doctor, but the entire environment. Because you're going to have to deal with all of them. The nurses, the receptionist, the doctor, all of them. Everything comes into play. And everything is a factor. And I must admit that before I went through everything I went through with the last 2 doctors I had, I didn't take it very seriously. I didn't think about it much. Like, these people literally have my life in their hands and my potential child in their hands. But now, after going through all that, is very much serious to me, and like, I need to keep everything in mind. So that's what I'm doing now. I continue my search, and I called another doctor who was this older black woman, and I read some interesting reviews on this woman, and I'm just trying to give you guys a visual, like, the ridiculousness I had to go through to find a potential, or what I have to do to find a potential doctor, and just like how thorough I have to be. Anywho, cut back to this older black doctor I called. I don't know why I thought it would be a lot easier than what it was. So anyway, I called the next doctor, older black lady. I was like, okay, she seems to have potential. It was very mixed reviews. Some people said she was a great doctor. Some women said she was very rude and nasty. One woman mentioned that she was, and I really, well, I'm not going to say these people's names, but one woman mentioned that she was taking care of her sister's kid, and because her sister wasn't able to take care of it, and the doctor said something along the lines of, why didn't she just get rid of it before having it, if you get what I mean. And the lady was in such disgust and shock. I'm like, yeah, that's something why would you say that? As a doctor, as a person, why would you say that? But yeah, it was just, and a few people mentioned that the staff was unprofessional, that the building was dirty and disgusting, and that was something I couldn't deal with. And then somebody else mentioned how a woman mentioned how she needed to be induced for labor, but the doctor said that she wanted to push it back because it was like during the 4th of July or something. The doctor wanted to go on vacation, so she was like she wasn't going to be there. Yeah, it's stuff like that. Like, I want a doctor that cares, and to me it seemed like this woman didn't care much or whatever. And then you got other people on there who say she was the greatest doctor ever, you know, very nice, very attentive. They've been gone to her for like 30 plus years. So I gave her a call. Did I give her a call? No, I didn't give her a call because of the dirty comments. And I was like, it was more than a few comments that said that. And I was like, I can't deal with a dirty hospital, or that's just nasty and that's not acceptable at all. So I was like, that's not even worth a call. So after many, many tries, I finally found one. Unfortunately, it was not a woman of color. It's an older white woman. Just because I need somebody who is available right now, I guess. What time is it? Shit, it's 2:43. Alright, let me hurry this up, because I have to go. And I don't want everybody waiting for me again, like they always do. So I say all this to say that you really have to be very, very careful as women and as women of color. You have to be extremely careful when it comes to finding a doctor for you. And that women of color, we are 4 times more likely to die at the hands of negligence due to doctors or racism in the healthcare system. And I witnessed that firsthand. But I also brought this up because I keep seeing in the news and on social media about all these women of color dying at the hands of their doctors, simply because they didn't listen to them. And that was my case. My doctor just did not listen to me, and it could have been a lot worse. Like, if I was in slightly worse health than I am, it could have been a lot worse. So much worse. And I just kind of wanted to tell you, like, what I've gone through and what I am going through, just trying to find a good doctor, a decent doctor. I haven't been to see this new doctor just yet. So anyway, like I was saying, just do your due diligence. Can't tell if I like this or not. I don't know. This is what it looks like today. This is what I look like today, so whatever. Anyway, so let's wrap this up. So yeah, like I was saying, I keep seeing articles, RIPs and stuff on social media and in the media about women, especially women of color, dying at the hands of their doctors due to negligence and just not being listened to in general. So that's why I wanted to give you what my experience was and what I'm going through now, trying to find a good doctor, a decent doctor. I don't know if I'm going to stay with this lady that I'm going to. We'll see. Like I said, my appointment hasn't been booked yet, but we'll see after I meet her and stuff. I wish I could have found a doctor of color, but living in the Southeast, I knew it was going to be a challenge. I'm sure there's a lot more in Atlanta or around the Atlanta area, but I'm not there. That's like a good 4 or 5 hours away from where I live. So yeah, but I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm gonna try. It's not really my strong suit, but I'm gonna try. But I just want everybody else to be careful, be mindful, of who you put your life in the hands of, I guess, because that's what it all comes down to. That's what this is about. That's what this is. So just do your due diligence, because it could save your life, for real. And I thought about it, like, next time when I do get pregnant, if I do get pregnant, hopefully I can have more kids and will have more kids. I do want to have an OBGYN, but I also want to have a, what are they called? I was just talking about them. What are they called? A doula. I do also want a doula. And a lot more insurance companies are also paying for doulas as well, which is cool. But anyway, still do your due diligence with those as well, because the girl, unfortunately, I saw recently, who was a YouTuber who passed away while pregnant, and her baby passed away as well. She had a doula, and even the doula still didn't listen to her, so it's ridiculous, like, for real. It's like, who do you trust? For real, who can you trust? This is why I have trust issues, bro. Along with many other reasons, but this does not help. It's a lot. It's really a lot. But yeah, just do your research, bro. Just try to stay safe, try to stay alive, try to have a healthy pregnancy if that's what you're going through. And if the first sign that you see that your doctor doesn't give a shit, get the hell out of there. Find a new one, because try to find a new one, because like I said, all the different restrictions and obstacles and hoops you gotta jump through with insurance here in this country is crazy. And then a lot of people don't even have insurance. It's a lot. So just do the best you can, and also ask questions. Put down in writing if they refuse to give you treatment or refuse to answer your questions. Put that in writing, or record it if you have to. That's something I wish I would have done, was record our conversations, because unfortunately with the girl who passed recently, like, she said she told her doula that, she wasn't feeling well, and after she passed, the doula was like, oh no, we never had that conversation. But luckily she had people there to hear the conversation she had with the doula. So, like I said, these people will dismiss you without a second thought. You can pass away and they'll just move on to the next. So for real, do your due diligence. Why is that so hard for me to say? Do your due diligence, and try to stay safe, because it's crazy out here. It always has been for us. It always most likely will be for us. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not the most optimistic person. Like, I don't see it changing in my lifetime. I wish it would. I wish we could just, like, start all over, but I don't know. I keep saying this, like, even if you pass away, like, they're still gonna have a job. So, for real, do what you can to keep you safe. But anyway, that is it. I'm gonna wrap this up. I think I've said everything I need to say. If I didn't, I will put it in a voiceover. But yeah, this is just, please be safe. Please be safe. Please, please, please do your research. Even if it takes hours. Like I said, it took me hours, and I was down to the wire. But please be safe. Do your research. Do not stay with somebody that makes you feel uncomfortable, that does not answer your questions, that does not give you a chance to ask questions. If you have questions, ask the questions. Ask questions. And if they don't listen to your question, do not go to them again. Find a new doctor. A lot of people I looked up, a lot of the doctors I looked up, they had a lot of reviews, good and bad. So read through all the reviews, not just the good ones, not just the bad ones, because they are all relevant. As many as you can anyway. Some people have over 300, like I said. Still read through as much as you can, because it's important. Especially compare and contrast. Like, if something keeps getting mentioned over and over again, like, oh, this office is dirty, it's not very clean, blah blah, take note of that. If somebody mentions, the bedside manner is terrible, he's not very nice, take note of that. If somebody keeps mentioning unprofessionalism, stuff like that, take note of all these things, bad and good. Especially bad too. Especially if somebody says it's dirty and it's a doctor's office, Take note of that. It's very important. Like, that's the one thing a doctor's office should be, is clean, sterile. That is important, for real. You don't want to leave with a staph infection or pink eye. That's so nasty. And this is not something that people have told me. This is stuff I found out over the years, that from doing research and seeing other people went through. So unfortunately, it's not something like my family has told me and stuff like that. It's just stuff I found out on my own. So I'm telling you, I'm telling you, do what you gotta do. Because these, I mean, in the end, I would like to find a doctor that cares, but I felt like I haven't had one. I'm thankful that I feel like we have a pediatrician for Ari that cares. Unfortunately, the pediatrician we had for her, I don't know if she retired or she moved away, but we just got a notice that she was leaving. Her new doctor seems pretty decent as well. I just really liked Ari's previous doctor because she was there since the beginning. Anyway, I'm rambling. That is it. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please, like I keep saying, do your due diligence. Please, I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna keep saying it. Do what you gotta do to keep you safe. Seriously. Thank you. See you next time. Bye. I gotta go make eggnog. I'll see you. Bye.